Parking on Graham then if we narrow it?
Is Denali gonna?
Yeah, because there's residential.
No, that's, so
It's
Todd
probably
Howard, the
that
lawyer
too.
who owns that lot, has just an agreement. It's
Right
up
now,
for
they-
sale. Anybody can buy
I
it.
remember right,
Well, why does it show Denali?
Because he's
you
using.
park, you have to
All right,
go-
ready?
Yeah, check with your crew.
They have offered to.
It definitely slows it
We're
down too.
online.
So it's not theirs yet.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Calling to order the March 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Lone Lake City Council at 6:33 PM. All council members are present this evening. For item 2, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 3. Actually, the microphone's on. Mayor comments, Lone Lake News, meeting review and updates. First of all, we just finished a work session, a council work session where we discussed a request from XL Energy to potentially put underground power lines near the Luce line where it intersects with Hardin Park. Nothing imminent with that yet, still more discussions to occur. We also had a review, the council reviewed sanitary sewer televising results from over the past year or so and saw some improvements and some lining that needs to be done in some of our sewer lines in different parts of the city. And then finally, we had a discussion about some street improvement projects, Grand Avenue being one of them, and learned about some costs associated with that, and that's early on as well. Staff is going to do more research into some of the cost estimates and before we determine what kind of street projects we'll authorize. So that was the work session. Other than that, nothing too major occurring in the city over the last 2 weeks or so since our last meeting. And just one update, just a meeting update on my end. The day after our last council meeting, on February 18th, I attended a meeting with our congressional representative, Kelly Morrison. She held a meeting with mayors from her congressional district, as she does on a regular basis, and just got some updates about, what's going on in Washington, D.C. and that sort of thing. And she heard updates from us as mayors as well as about things that are occurring in our city that are of interest to the federal level. To be honest, a lot of discussion at that meeting was about, the ICE enforcement that had been occurring in the Twin Cities, because it was pretty fresh at that point. And I know a lot of the mayors in her district spoke up regarding different situations and impacts that as a result of the ICE activity in their cities. Ours was not as much. I know we had activity at a restaurant or two, but quite a bit at some of the other cities in our district. So that was kind of the main part of that meeting. Other than that, nothing major to report since, again, our last meeting. So with that, we'll move on to item 4, which is to approve this evening's agenda. And I'll make a motion to approve this evening's agenda with the exception of item 7B. We will table item 7B, which is a further discussion regarding professional services regarding a pavement management improvement project. Because as I mentioned earlier, we got a little more research to do with that. So motion to approve with
Second that
tabling
motion.
item B.
I
Thank
can
you.
second that motion.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 5, consent agenda. A couple of items to note here on the consent agenda. One is to appoint resident Kelly Grady to the Park Board for a term effective through December 31st, 2028. We appreciate Kelly stepping forward to serve on the Park Board. And likewise, appointing resident Travis Michaels to the Planning Commission for a term effective through December 31st of 2029. I know Michael had planned on attending tonight, but was not able to, or I'm sorry, Travis had planned on attending, but wasn't able to do it kind of last minute here. So we appreciate Travis's interest in serving his community. And then also reappointing resident Lori Goodsell to the Planning Commission for a term effective through December 31st, 2029. So thank you to Lori, who served on the Planning Commission for several years, for continuing to do so. And then lastly, besides items A and B, lastly, approving the purchase of a 2017 Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck from Davis Chevrolet of Delano. So thanks to Sean for your work on that.
Thank
All right.
you.
Any questions for staff regarding items on the consent agenda this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Oh, you got it.
All right, motion the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Terrific. Okay, item 6, open correspondence. Open correspondence is an item on the agenda during which the public may address the city council. No formal action is taken by the city council, and comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less. And open correspondence comments may also be emailed to city staff by noon on the date of the meeting. Anyone wish to approach? No, any submitted open correspondence?
There were none, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to regular business then. Item 7A, Hennepin County updates from Commissioner Heather Edelson. So good evening, Commissioner. Step on up when you're ready. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, this is on. All right, Amanda, let's see if I have this.
I'm gonna connect to the,
Good to see you, Mayor and council members.
yes, welcome
All
back.
Okay, so click that. Okay, so now I hit allow. Okay, so I don't usually do my own PowerPoint. I mean, I put together the PowerPoint. How do I do view slide? Oh, slide? No, how do you do view? How about this one, if I do that? There it is. Okay, I got it. We're gonna go to the very beginning now. Okay,
Is that gonna work?
except it's not up there.
Sounds like you have a choice to make there on the,
Oh, do I maybe switch it to a different?
is there a
Options.
button
win-
to mirror?
Yeah, Windows, the Windows button, and then P, did you do that one?
All right. I hit allow. Maybe- Should I unplug and plug
You
again?
want me to?
Possibly.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Oh, so yeah, you got an Apple, so you're the Apple guy. You need to walk her through.
I know I'm a Mac person. I can't.
It doesn't work. I might have something here. Apologize.
Okay, that's not gonna work that. Hold on, let's try this.
I think there's a,
Do you have her presentation so you can kind of put it up on the
Yes,
screen?
I just have,
Yes, John, Amanda's gonna put it
I
up on
can
the
work,
screen.
let me just quickly see if I can find,
Do you want me to email it to you?
I believe you already did.
Oh, good. Okay.
Excel.
well, not the Mac guy, but I think I know how to.
You might have saved the day and I stopped you from saving the day.
Right. Could have saved the day.
Seeing Clara thought we were gonna avert any problems.
Things always happen when it's
Technology.
Yep.
Oh, hold
happens
on,
to
here we
me.
go. Choose, I think I got it.
Okay,
Well, I think now you hit the button on the box.
the green,
Start mirroring. I think I got it, you guys.
Okay, but you,
on the box next to it.
Oh, no, I have to hit this?
yeah, hit that again, and then hit the,
Oh, something's happening. Look
All right,
at that.
Councilmember-
Look at that.
Did it? Okay, hold on.
Nice.
Now hold on, what I have to do,
The
the
slideshow button.
slideshow again?
There you go.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
No,
bit off.
it's not quite right, is it? It's too
aspect
big.
ratio.
Huh. Well, how about we'll just go out? We're gonna go out of this and we'll just do it.
You can see most of the slides, it
We'll
looks
just
like.
do smaller. We're gonna do smaller. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'll just make it a little bit bigger and then we're gonna roll with this as,
You with
Okay.
your family photos there.
yeah, you guys, yeah, there's you. Oh, I can show you my kids. There's some good ones. I'm sure they would love that. Okay, all right, well, we'll just kind of go with this. I wish there was like a way to get it slightly bigger, but can you guys see it?
yep.
Okay, all right, good.
So
Thanks
just
for
quick
rolling with
question.
me, guys.
Amanda, did
I'd
you?
have to unplug her
Oh, okay,
to do that.
okay.
Well, I mean, this is not terrible.
I think it works.
All right, let's go. Okay, well, good to see you guys. Heather Edelson. In June will be on my second year, if you guys can believe it. My second time coming to come present. So it's good to see you all. All right, so today I'm going to hopefully walk you through, and I'm going to grab my notes. I wrote up some notes so I forget to say certain things that I want to make sure I'm telling you. And then before I start too, I'm going to pass this around.
You know what I can do?
You can get one too if you want.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'll mention that when I
Edison,
start.
I might be able to, if you wanted to try, I could actually possibly zoom it from here if you would like to try the slideshow, if that would be easier for you.
Sure, if you want.
It's
It works for me.
Okay.
Whichever one. Okay, great. All right, perfect. Okay, all right. So today I'm going to be talking about the 2026 budget. You'll see the overview here, state and federal platform and challenges that we're facing. You've probably seen the news. HCMC, we're having some issues financially with the hospital. County highlights, community investments, and of course, I would love to hear questions and also feedback from you guys on ways that we can continue to partner better. As I go into the second year, I think we're always continuing to improve, and I want to make sure I'm doing what I can for our communities. All right, and so here's just some highlights about Hennepin County. We're established in 1852. We have 45 cities, and 1.3 residents, 100 plus lakes, 607 square miles, 8 Fortune 500 companies, and 11 watershed districts. I have to tell you, before I got to the county, I had no idea what a watershed district truly did. I just didn't. Worked on much different policy. All right, and so here my staff member did a word cloud. Have you guys ever done one of these? I think they're helpful to see all the different things the county does. And I just want to highlight a few things that are relevant for Long Lake. Like the county does the 911 dispatch for Long Lake. We have capital projects. We have search and rescue. We do water patrol. We're a safety net. We have adult protection. Water quality issues we deal with, public safety, SNAP benefits, waivers, permits, we keep records, and when you get your driver's license, court security, prosecutions, so many things here. And so the county has 9,000 employees, and we do a lot of partnering with cities, Met Council, watersheds, state and federal agencies, and I was trying to think of like a good way to explain this as I'm trying to look at what the county does, and it's so vast and so big, and we have so many departments. But what we do is we're this quiet part of government that doesn't make headlines, but we do this vital connection between communities, the state, and the federal government. We create an economy of scale that allows regional investments in prevention, intervention, and long-term stability. So we're not always seeing the things that the county does, but there's a lot of prevention we're doing. An example just would be, you probably read the news with the Sheriff's Department. There's been, with the ICE enforcement that we've had, there was some conflict that happened on Sunday. And one of the things that I did today was look and say, okay, how do we take our Safe Communities funding that we have, and how do we go and intervene? Because there's been a lot of trauma that's happened, and people still don't trust because they're not getting clear answers from every level of government on what's happening and how many agents are currently here. And I don't see that they're seeing law enforcement. I think there's a blanket way that people are seeing law enforcement, and in the Sheriff's Department is not the same as ICE. And so trying to figure out how we can intervene, because people completely have every right to be upset with ICE, but they also don't have the right to throw things at our sheriff's deputies. And so it's this conflict that we're having right now, but Safe Communities is able to go and do preventative work. So if we don't see another headline in the news, that might work, but it doesn't mean that we're not doing anything. It's just that it is working. And so it's hard for the community to see that there are things that happen behind the scenes that aren't going to make the paper. So we'll keep going. Here's the 2026. This is the revenue and so you'll see the property taxes is where I have passed out that handout. So for Long Lake, if you can top to your handout that I just sent you, you'll see that Long Lake, residence market value in Long Lake increased modestly at 1.3%, reflecting a steady and healthy housing market. With the overall net change was 5.7%, so it was on roughly an average of $95 per home. Again, that's just an average. So I'm sure that some people that saw their property taxes go up more than that would dispute it. But again, it's an average. So that is what we're looking at. So some of the stressors on our budget have been, and I'll go to my next slide here, some of the expenditures that we've been seeing increase on. Human services is, health and human services is 48% of our budget. We've been seeing challenges around human services that I will talk about more. Unpredictability with the federal government and cuts to things that we have already paid for is a struggle. We also are seeing increased needs for our public safety. That section has been growing, and I have to be honest that it's challenging to figure out how we are going to slow that, because the sheriff has an obligation, a state obligation to provide certain services. And so to try to reduce like we can in other departments, because right now we are looking at how can we reduce cost, it's really hard to do that with the sheriff's department, because we have public safety needs that are actually growing and not reducing. And so we can't just cut and say that we're not going to hire any more deputies. So it is a challenge that we're trying to think about how we address, but I just want to highlight when you think about our budget increases. I also will say the hospital has been a stressor. It was one levy point, which is $10 million last year. And that is something that right now we're actively working on our budget, and it's one of the things that we're looking at. So our goal is to reduce our reliance on property taxes to continue to increase. We don't want to see continued increases, otherwise we're going to price people out of their home. And I very much know that. I believe our district would like to have fiscal responsibility, but also make sure people are taken care of, and I'm taking that very seriously as we approach this budget session, or budget season. So we are also looking at, if you look at the other items, I did a BAR, which is essentially our county, it's a board action resolution. It's essentially how we do our county laws. And I brought one about gun violence prevention. It was an issue, Annunciation was actually close. I live in Edina, was close to where I live, and we have lots of families that were impacted by that. We've seen school shootings go up dramatically, and so I think the county could play a really important role in working at how we can collaborate to see reduced gun violence. So with that, I brought a prevention resolution, and we are working and trying to collaborate more on what we can do to make sure that schools and counselors in schools, as well as communities and police departments, are supported in the work that they do around prevention. There's also Waivered Services Working Group. The state of Minnesota is looking at Waivered Reimagine, which will reduce the amount of services funding that people with disabilities and seniors would possibly get. And while that saves the state money, it could also be quite a big difference between what people are receiving now to what they would receive. So these are some of the cuts. I'm going to talk about those now. So in 2026, this is funding that we've already, essentially we've already allocated and are paying for. So the cuts are real. Again, that's a levy point so SNAP, we've had the cut of $8 million. And for SNAP, these are services, so just so you know, so SNAP is a supplemental nutrition program. And with that, the county the funds don't come from the county. This is a federal program that the county is mandated to provide. We check eligibility if they qualify, and then we connect them with services. Previously, we were compensated for the services for education outreach and to try to help people get employment, things like that. We were also compensated for the staff and time that it took. And a lot of the cuts are coming out of that now, saying they're not going to happen. And then terminated FEMA grants, and just so you know, those are disaster relief, hazard mitigation grants, cuts to emergency food and shelter programs.
At least part permanent cuts or temporary?
These are permanent cuts as of right now. We haven't received clear answers. We were able, for SNAP benefits, we were able to bring a court case. There was a cut saying, there was under House File 1, I believe it was, I might have been honestly, it's really hard to track. There's so many different changes. There was a change where we were going to have to recertify everyone that received SNAP benefits in 1 year. It would be incredibly challenging for us to do that. And so we were able to get a court case to stop that from happening. So that's been very helpful. People have to renew their certification, but having to completely renew everybody, the whole application process in 1 year would have been a tremendous lift. All right, and then 2027, so these are the things that we're looking for as we look to next year. These are Medicaid, as you can see, it's TBD. We are still working on the financials of that from House File 1, or excuse me, House Resolution 1, they do HR 1. But for SNAP food security, so it's the error rate, and I would, if you guys don't mind me a little bit of leniency here to explain to you what it is, because I think the error rate can be really confusing unless you guys, I'm just going to explain it because I'm going to assume that you guys don't know because it took me a while to completely understand. So the error rate, so what the House File 1 or HR 1 did was it said that it has to be 6% or less. So Minnesota has an error rate of 8%. Now there's 33 states of our 50 states that are below Minnesota. So we're actually just about average. We're just a little bit below average. So 33 other states have worse error rates than we do. So if we're at 8.9% and then they want us to get to 6%, but they said you have to get to 6% by January of 2027. So error rates, this is what it is. So an error rate is it's either overpaying or underpaying for SNAP benefits. Now, the challenge with getting this completely accurate, it goes into a system, called METS. And METS is an archaically old system, like most government systems are. And what it does is it verifies with the IRS the amount of money the person is claiming on their taxes. Now, it doesn't do that right away. And so the person what they're doing is supplying us with their maybe last 2 pay stubs. And so we are getting a report of what their income is. And sometimes that's inaccurate. And so they're saying you're responsible if that's inaccurate. It's very challenging to try to figure out. So right now, Minute is working with us too to have an overlay on that because SNAP benefits are also coming from the same, the MET system also does your health benefits. So it does medical assistance as well. So those two are in one. And then we have another database for all the disability waivers, which is actually much more flexible. Even though it's old. So that's something we're facing for the SNAP error rates. So 20 million is quite a bit of funds, and that's troubling. HUD, I just got back from Washington, D.C. We were working with some of the lawmakers, National County, just kind of like you guys do for the Council of Mayors and the cities coming together. We have the National Association of Counties coming together. And one of the things that was highlighted is the HUD changes. And I saw the Assistant Secretary, Ronnie Kurtz there, and I was able to speak with him about some of the cuts to what it is to stable permanent housing. So that's housing where we have people with disabilities and chronic mental illness who have seen homelessness and they've cycled through our system, which can be very expensive. And that these residents will lose the funding and potentially the housing if they can't show that they can work a certain amount. And so, which is incredibly challenging. So we've made a lot of progress on housing people. Stable housing actually saves taxpayers a great deal of funds. And so that's been a challenge. I've been working with the Assistant Secretary to try to see if we can find another path or if people could give us more time as we can kind of flush out what the collateral consequences could possibly be on this. Let's see here. Okay. And here is the Medical Center, HCMC. So we're at right now you can kind of see what we're at. August, the county board became the hospital board, which I will tell you, I was the one vote against that idea because of the financial liability, if I'm honest with you. And I wanted us to have a path forward because now we are the hospital board. We had an obligation as a county But now the financial obligation is even more challenging. And this hospital, as much as I want to save it, can also, it's going to be very expensive if we have to close it as well. It's going to be a whole wind down process if we have to close. But I just want to highlight to you, kind of to the end of where we are. Through 2027, by the end of this year, $100 million has to be cut. And I would also say I wish that we would have made some cuts earlier on. I was advocating for it because Hennepin Healthcare is a business. And as much as we want to keep it maintained, uncompensated care is growing, where people are uninsured or underinsured. Those amounts are growing, and we don't have funds to pay for it. The state is not helping us with that. And so when you think about what we're doing here, it is challenging. So what we're asking for the state legislature right now is to provide us, right now there's, for the ballpark, the Twin Stadium, there's a 0.5% sales tax that exists. And what we're asking for is a 1-cent sales tax. So we don't get any of those funds for now, but the ballpark is paid for. And so what we're asking for is to continue that sales tax, increase it by 0.85 to make it a 1-cent sales tax to help us pay for this. Because if this hospital closes, with the Medicaid changes that we are seeing, all hospitals will be suffering. And this is not a lucrative business we're in, but it will be costly for taxpayers if it closes. It will be costly because it's going to have, all the residents are going to have to go to a different hospital, and they're going to have this issue spread out, and it will be we'll be playing whack-a-mole with the problem.
Can I ask you a question too? Is there any interest in like privatizing part of it? I mean, there's a huge infrastructure of this building.
There is a huge infrastructure. We're having conversations with people, but the reality is again, hospitals, you tell me a hospital outside of Mayo that's making a lot of money right now, and in the state of Minnesota, so privatizing it, for us to become a private, it wouldn't be possible for us. I mean, the reality is we've tried to change lots of different things, but if for somebody to come in and buy it, yeah, it's absolutely a possibility, and it's one that it's kind of our, I would say, option C to explore. But it's the clientele that go to HCMC, and there's 4 or 5 different hospitals within 5 miles of HCMC. I think it's a hard market to get into right there.
And those hospitals.
Does that answer your question? I apologize,
Yeah,
Councilmember.
no,
I just want to
I've
make sure
actually started going to HCMC to see medical providers, and they provide, on the record, really good service.
they do provide very good service. Yes, I've gone there multiple
Reputation,
times.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other hospitals certainly don't want HCMC to shut down either, is my understanding, because then they get all the spillover from that, and that's costly to them. And
Absolutely. And the other thing to think about too is we get directed pay. So all the other hospitals, what that means is with Medicaid reimbursements, we actually get double Medicaid reimbursement. So the other hospitals want that. They don't have it. But the only way to keep that if it closes, if to transfer it to another government entity, so maybe the University of Minnesota is something that I'm thinking about, because we could keep the directed pay. So directed pay, it would have to be a level 1 trauma center. So as we're cutting, there's parameters that we have to cut within to make sure that we're still a level 1 trauma center, still able to get that match from the federal government. It is incredibly tricky. I mean, you think about all of these other things about government we have to know, and then hospital government as well, and how a hospital operates. It's been a lot of my time just trying to figure out how to be on a hospital board and understand the economics of it. Okay, I'll keep going. All right, so state, I've already talked about that. So you'll see ballpark sales tax extension is something we're asking for. It's our number 1 ask. And then just so you know, from that, there's a revenue of about $300 million annually from that. And then we have been meeting with the Twins. They would have capital improvements that would total about $9 million a year. So that's their ask from of these funds. And then we would continue to have, right now, the PLAY grants that we have, that we award grants on, that comes from the sales tax. We would continue that as well. So ideally, even possibly bumping that. But, if we don't get 1 cent, a lot of sales taxes are at 0.5. That would also help us at giving us about $160 million. So that would also be very helpful, and that could help sustain the hospital. And then, yes, and then for federal, it's working to reduce the amount of cuts that we're seeing, or give us more time so that we can plan. This is just a highlight, this is a slide that I took from somebody else in our staff. I was like, oh, that's a great slide. So we have grant programs that totaled about 75 million in grant funding. And so that's looking at prevention, flood mitigation, stormwater systems, public health, culturally appropriate mental health. We have added 942 affordable housing homes, working with suppliers like Beacon at Interfaith on providing affordable housing units. And then contracts that we've awarded about 33.5 million. I'll be honest with you, we're reevaluating every single one of these contracts because we have to cut our budget. And so this is one of the first areas. So that number, what we're doing right now is we're separating what is mandatory to provide, because again, I just want to highlight the county. I want to really make this clear. The county, most of our budget is mandated for. It's federal or state has required us to do something. So we're taxing you, but it's not always our fault, to be fair. It's sometimes the federal and the state government saying, hey, you have to do these things. And we're saying, you're not giving us enough money to do it. We have to tax for it. Kind of like you guys. There's probably things that cities have to do. You know, it's the one area of government I have not served in yet. So
It's not too late.
I know, there it goes, like my next step. And then we opened the Youth Crisis Stabilization Center in December of this year. It only has 13 beds. You're probably thinking like I was, it's very small, but I want to set out a bit of a picture of what was happening before. We had these youth that had very complex mental health concerns where they were interacting with our criminal justice system and sitting in the juvenile detention center and otherwise sometimes at hotels. And we had county staff that were staffing them because they couldn't be at home, but there was no residential treatment facility for them. We have a shortage of residential treatment facilities in the state of Minnesota. And again, we have to provide supports to families. So this, while it was expensive and while it is small, is going to provide a really great resource to the community in keeping kids out of the juvenile detention center, which is not where people want to go to heal. I mean, it's so interesting. The juvenile detention center has changed so much from when I was growing up. Kids were sent there for like, if you got into trouble with maybe like a minor thing, like underage drinking. That doesn't happen anymore. We have under 20 youth there, and all of them convicted of very serious crimes like rape, murder, attempted murder, things like that. So you don't want somebody that's having a mental health crisis with somebody that has committed a very violent crime. So this facility, if you're interested, please do let me know, and I can set up a tour sometime this summer. And okay, so now we're on to Long Lake projects. So current project, the chip seal pavement preservation along Wayzata Boulevard. And then we have the County Road 6 replacement to enhance drainage. And we have additional, the mayor and I had a great conversation about the gates. We were able to come to an agreement that we would match, as well as the MnDOT, I believe, is going to match, as well as the city is kind of coming together with that other part for the gate repair. I would love to hear like what the update on that is when you have a moment, maybe today, even when we're done. And then looking at the bridge repair, the replacement bridge along Brown Road over the trail. And then it sounds like it's so funny, I wanted to pull up more details on this, but our website is being redesigned right now, and I couldn't click on. So while my next slide it's 2 slides down. I'm like, go to this website, and you can tell you all the details. It's actually not working right now.
So you don't know when that bridge is going to be? Did it say if that's going to be this summer or
Yeah,
next summer?
I'm going to follow up with you, Mayor. I really wanted, I know, it was like one of those things where we're like, wait, hold on, this isn't working.
Is that the timber bridge?
Yeah, it's made of wood, right down on Blues Line, yeah. So thank you.
Yes, we've been having lots of conversations about that bridge. So let me get the exact date for you. It's on our capital improvement being added, and so, yeah. So good. Okay. So county aid to municipalities. This is something last year which I would have known about. Like, right, memo when you're taking over a job for somebody else, would be really nice if somebody gave you memos on what were really good things for cities to know. And county aid to municipalities, I think, is a good one. So Amanda, you know about it, but I think council members, there's so many things that you have to know about. This is a really good thing for cities under 5,000, knowing that you get local government funds that we send to you review, it looks like the balance is 18,369 that you have now. And then we should be updating, just so you know, Amanda as well as council. We should be sending an update on allocations in August of this year for what you'll be getting this year. And that happens every year. And then if you look on the right-hand side, Hennepin County cost participation policy, we are working, I've actually talked to the mayor of Deep Haven, but this is true for a lot of cities, is when we are redoing a street, the city's cost participation can be high, and it can be challenging for cities. And so looking how we could subsidize that as a county, and we have on the participants on the working group, which we're hoping to have an answer by the end of summer on what that policy will look like. So if you have ideas, you can let the mayors of Wayzata or their city managers know. Shorewood and Eden Prairie are all these 6 cities that are participating. Just so you know, too, for Deep Haven and cities that don't have, there's some cities that don't have a county road. And the Mayor Carlson actually brought this up, and I thought it was a good point. They're paying into taxes, but they don't have any county roads. Well, no, isn't that annoying? That's
Sleep.
Oh, here, hold on. I think I got it. Oh, no.
Push the button
Oh,
again.
hold on. I got it. I think stop monitoring, change. Hmm.
I think push the green button,
Push the green button, this one?
just one time.
Okay.
There you go.
Choose content, start monitoring. But, so good. Okay, all right. I'm saying too much. I hate when people do that. Yes, so we are having this meeting to figure out how we could have that cost share, but also if cities do not have, and I think it might only be Deep Haven in our district that doesn't have a county road, they are able to apply for funds too. They used to, Minnetonka Boulevard and Vine Hill used to actually be county roads. And not that this impacts Long Lake, but the mayor at the time, the city council signed it, took it on. And so I think that the current council is not very happy about the former council's decision.
Never do that.
I know that would never, my advice to you is don't sign over your county roads, or don't take the county road as your city road. It's not a good idea. You'll regret it. And here we are. There is the website I was going to say that you'll be able to access with more information, but it's not working right now. We'll be hopefully working in the next week. We're just redesigning right now. We're switching over from .us to .gov.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, and these are just boards I'm on. If there's anything that comes up for the mosquito control board, it's one of the best boards ever. But if you feel like mosquitoes are heavy and you need a little bit more coverage, let me know and I can bug and make sure that they. Yeah, seriously, it's a fun board to be on. I mean, we get to put on like mosquito gear and everybody kind of collectively agrees that we don't like mosquitoes. Yes, but heading home, we don't have to go through all of them, but canvassing board also, I certify elections. That's one of the things that we do as a county, which is really interesting. Again, another thing I didn't know. And I would love to hear feedback, questions, anything, and I have a pad to get your feedback. Are there things you have questions on that we didn't cover, things that you would like to hear more about?
I have a few.
Yeah, we don't
ahead.
see, I got a few too, but go ahead.
The County Road 6 drainage
Yeah.
project, is that tied at all in with the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District working on, there's some holding ponds on County Road 6 that they're trying to improve that impacts the flow into Long Lake and the phosphorus issue that we have? Or is that a completely separate?
Council member, I do not know, but I can follow up. I can just give James a call
Okay.
and connect with him from the Watershed District and double check if we're working together.
Yeah, because, we have a big issue with the water quality of Long Lake and all of the runoff that is going in there and phosphorus that's already in there and how to improve that, because that's really our central, greatest natural resource for our little city here to have, that we'd like to preserve. And so we're glad to see that the Watershed District is doing, they have a long-term plan to try to improve the water quality of not only the lake, but the whole Watershed District. or the whole watershed, including the other lakes that feed into Long Lake. And then Long Lake feeds into, feeds into Tanager Lake and Lake Minnetonka, so it impacts everything downstream from it. So that was one question. The other question, the CAM that you were talking about, it's that $18,000 balance. Is that, do we get some annual amount?
I was just looking, and I don't believe we got any last year, did we? Or was it 2 years
Did
ago?
about $7,000. We
7,000.
use that to offset seal coating
So we can use that for our own pavement management?
all the time, yep,
And so we get roughly 7,000 a year then, or is that,
roughly, yes.
oh, I didn't know
We
that.
submit invoices from our seal coating projects. Some of that's earmarked for the digital speed limit signs that we're looking at putting on Orchard. That fund was gonna fund those,
Nice.
since we didn't have to, put that in our budget. So it's sitting there waiting to be spent.
Could we use that to put in that crossing, you know,
Sign it.
yeah, at the Werzer Trail, like we've been talking about for years?
Can we
But
do
that's a
that?
county decision, I guess.
Because that's county.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so tell me what it is,
So,
though.
so there's a trail crossing right across from our lake. We call it Werzer Trail, and we've talked for years and years and years about having a meter, like a button that pedestrians can push to cross there. And at one time they said, no, they can't because there's one that's down by the Red Rooster, which is kind of too close, so that's going to impact traffic flow. But I don't know if I bought that.
So they being county engineers?
Yeah, I don't know. It
Yeah,
was
so
somebody
it
at the
was-
county at one time, right? But
Paul
this was
Backer.
probably 10 years ago or
Paul
8.
Backer.
Not that long.
Do you
but-
have more of a specific you guys, I apologize, I have a huge district, so I don't know every
So,
aspect.
It's kind of on 112 right here.
Okay, so right by 112, okay.
Yeah, it is.
It's
it is
on 112.
Yeah, on 112, along the lake, and there's a crossing there. And there is a median there, or like a island of refuge, I guess they call it. And there's a crosswalk there, so, I mean, traffic ought to stop. And we actually put up those, signs that say stop for pedestrian and crosswalk. But we've always thought it would be safer to have, a button with the flashing lights. And
You would have drove past on your way here. It's you drive past Birches and go down the hill, and then you get to the lake, and then it's kind of right there once it flattens out a little bit.
And it's
Okay.
a 30-mile zone, so.
it's supposed to be 30, but I mean, you're coming down off of a 40 and coming down the hill, so usually people
It's
are
a
coming in
dangerous
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call the mayor tomorrow, I'm gonna zoom in on the
Yeah.
map and make sure I have it, and I'll just,
Sure.
Mayor, I'll give you a call, and we can just make
Current
sure.
signage has been replaced, I don't know how many times.
Just
They
from
run
getting hit
over.
by
So we want
trucks.
a pedestrian, like flashing,
Flashing.
yeah, they can hit.
Not a red light or anything, just, the thing that flashes that says,
A button that says.
Isn't there one up in the loose line trails on some like, Vicksburg or something, that, they press a button and it.
well, we have it at the Red Rooster,
Yeah.
on Mill Street,
Red Rooster too, yeah.
so,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good.
And then, so my question, I'm curious about the CAM, I didn't realize that, because, as far as local government aid from the state, we've been shut out of because, which I never understood those formulas that where other cities get local government aid and we don't, apparently.
Some
but
criteria that has to be met in order for that. to
It's a
be
complicated formula that nobody understands, so, or at least I don't understand.
Can you fix that too, or not? Okay.
I left the state for a reason.
What's the
Glad I'm not
balance? Is
there.
that
Happy
over
we
how
get
many
what we
years, or-
Well, that's the
No,
current
not
balance,
for
I
what we pay,
assume,
though.
Right.
that 18,
That's
I don't know if-
currently what, I just checked with county staff, and that's currently what the balance shows that you
that
have.
we have in our,
Oh, so we just have to,
We submit
Yeah.
invoices that, the invoices are way more than what's available, it'll drain it to zero in one invoice.
Sure.
right, but we have that to use,
That's
right?
currently there ready for us to use.
Okay.
Nice, nice.
And then my last question is, what was the total tax revenue that you had last year from taxes?
Countywide, you mean?
Yeah, countywide.
Boom, I got it for
I'm
you
just-
here. Revenue, there it goes. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
3.15.
Okay, and that was an increase of 5.7%, which is, 150 million. And so I'm just curious about why are there all these cuts when when the taxes went up by 150 million? So what is it that's gone up so much that requires $50 million in cuts at HCMC, for example?
Oh goodness, there's so many. I mean, it's from a lot of different areas. So we have, again, so 13 million is specifically for the sheriff. You have HCMC had over 10 million, so they were a little bit more than a levy point. And then there was a lot of human services aspects in there. So there's a lot of different things that are going up. The cost of the capital improvements to do some of them. We've seen some budget changes that we weren't prepared for. There's a lot of, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts,
Okay,
unfortunately.
but it just seems like, I wasn't expecting all those severe cuts that you presented. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute, if it's gone up by 5.7%, which is, math guy is 150
I
million.
was trying to aggregate the amount of cuts.
Well,
And it
and-
was a surprisingly small number, so I'm
Oh,
assuming
for
there's
the
a lot
federal,
more.
for the federal government?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
so-
well, that's not including the state
Yeah,
government.
that's what
Some
there's
of,
more.
so I didn't
Yeah.
include the state. I mean, ultimately, we want things from the state, so I'm going to be very positive right now
Okay.
about them. But
I
we've
did-
also had cuts and shifts there.
Okay, well, I wasn't aware that.
So it's 150 million add-on, the Fed was like 1% cut, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the state unknown and others unknown. Do you have an idea of the aggregate of the
Of
cuts?
this, of the actual state? What do you mean?
Like the total cuts that you're expecting right now, because on this
Oh,
was
the
like
total
one-
cuts that we're going to have to do? Honestly, right now, we are looking at a 12% levy increase if we do not somehow get our budget into place. So that's where we're at. So we're having monthly meetings. I mean, the problem with county government is, you see, we have our areas. I mean, like, look at this. Look at the span of all the different lines of business. So we have libraries, we have public works, we have capital improvements, you have law, safety, and justice, you have health, operations, disparity elimination. There's a lot of things in there, and then human services. There are a lot of things that are very complicated within each of those mechanisms that the cost goes up. And then also we have 9,000 staff. We collective bargain with them, and the raises and their healthcare costs have gone up. That's something I don't have on the slide. So those costs alone, those are 6 levy points just for our staff by itself. So we have a hiring freeze. So that's the thing where you're looking at it. We have unexpected costs. We have a very large amount of staff, and the county's run by people. It's really run by people.
So
Can you explain what operations and disparity elimination,
Yes.
what falls into that bucket?
Yeah, so it's a lot of operations and disparity elimination. It's interesting because Alpha News did a story about this, and I've responded to several constituents about it. And I do think we should have a little bit more kind of breakdown of what each one is. And actually, we do have a book about it. But disparity elimination is where we're going in, and we're investing with certain communities and saying, okay, we know that we're seeing higher amount of homelessness and higher amount of police calls and sheriff calls here, and we're looking at how do we reduce things there. So, I mean, it's a very vast and broad. I can actually sign you the line items of all the different things that we do within it. It's
How
quite
is that
large.
different though than human because that's what
It's very different. It's very different. Yeah. It's because, so human services are waivers. It's child protection. It's adult services. That is completely different than the things that we're seeing where there's poverty, very specific poverty things that we're trying to intervene with. So that's a lot of our prevention work is disparity elimination.
Because I've been getting a lot of calls from residents and business owners specifically. I mean, fiscal disparities is something that I know a lot of business owners are extremely upset about right now. They just got their tax returns or their tax statements, and they're pretty upset about the fiscal tax.
Oh,
And I see this, and it's 12% of the budget going to capital improvements, which I know for our city, capital improvements is a huge, that's most of our city. That's what our government is here for, is capital improvements of infrastructure and so forth. And only 6% going to public works. So I think a lot of our businesses in town are starting to feel like their voices aren't being heard, and that they're, between both property taxes and then the fiscal disparities tax, that a lot of their money is
we
not
don't have a
staying.
separate tax for fiscal disparities. That's not
On
us.
property tax?
No, on property taxes, it's built within. We
Cool,
don't have a
yes.
separate, I mean, it's all, like, the 7.79 went up. That was built within the whole framework. So what I would say is the disparity elimination is, so the county is not like a city. The county is absolutely, there's no way a city could do what the county does. It's just, it would be incredibly expensive for cities to do that. And the state couldn't do it because they're too far removed. The state is, the day-to-day, how they run a government is very different. So with the disparity elimination, I think getting you the line items on what that actually is, I think would be helpful. But yes, it's very challenging because human services is very different than what we're doing in disparity elimination. And I should be able to explain that better to you, but there's a vast amount of things that I have to know, and I can pull it up really quick for you and actually talk to you offline if you want to.
No, that was, you answered my question. And then the facility that was built at 13, which category did that fall in? 'Cause I remember last year you had mentioned what was the total cost for that one?
That one was, I believe it was 50 million.
15 or 50?
What, the public safety facility? or-
One second. I think it was.
Oh, the juvenile,
Yes.
Hold on, let me just
For
tell you,
13, yeah.
it was, let me just see here, it's the youth crisis. Crisis Station Center. I'm telling you, in the House of Representatives, you didn't have to know about 18 different lines of business like this. It's a very different thing. Okay, cost Hennepin is, it was 20 million.
20 million, okay.
Yeah, 20 million.
I had a question about the hospital. The shortfalls there, those fall on the county right now. Do we have an idea of what fraction, because it's Level 1 Trauma Center, it services a huge area. Do we
Absolutely.
have an idea of what fraction of the people using that facility are from Hennepin County versus?
Oh, yeah, 20% are from outside of Hennepin County. So
Okay.
20% of who is using that is, so they could be from South Dakota, they could be from Greater Minnesota.
Ramsey County,
Or
too.
Ramsey.
We have a
Ramsey, yeah.
Ramsey County, yeah. I mean, they have regions, but it's not as good as, sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
the burn unit that we have, a lot of different things at HCMC are, I mean, we're a training hospital. We train so many of the physicians that are coming and being in the medical field.
As
so.
a regional service, is there any way to, I mean, effectively, I'm just thinking, let's invoice Ramsey County, but, but like, the fact that it is a service, why does that fall on Hennepin County?
Taxpayers.
To
We're
handle?
no longer allowing them to come right now. We've
Okay.
actually cut services. So if you unless you live in Hennepin County, we're not accepting you. We just
Oh,
did
really?
that, yeah. And so we're talking to the legislature about that. I mean, we're having to make, again, 100 million of cuts
Yep.
by the end of this year. And so no longer can taxpayers continue to pay,
Or-
because it really is on our residents to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes a state issue, and if they're not putting their big boy pants on, I mean, this is a tough job to be in.
100%. Yeah, and it's stressful. I mean, at the hospital, the workers are, really helping, but we've tried everything to try to look at how we can be really efficient. But yeah, we're looking at, over 1,000 layoffs probably coming soon, and I think all the unions know it too. And it's not a great place to be.
One question I have is, our city clerk is not able to join us tonight, but I know if she was here, she would ask about the elections and as far as any forward movement on county providing assistance to smaller cities like ours regarding, absentee voting and voting before.
Do you mind really quick if I look
Yeah,
this up?
perfect.
Hold
Go
on.
for
Sorry,
it.
I'm going to go into my folder because Greenwood asked about this, and I put it in my
Okay.
presentation for them. Let me just see what I have. Greenwood. Sorry, you're going to see Greenwood. I'm going there tomorrow. Greenwood elections. So here's what we're doing. So they've been having conversations with the mayor of Greenwood. No, where is? Did I go by it, you guys? Where was it?
There,
Where?
what buddy?
Increased support from,
One more.
there wa-
There it is. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. It's been a long day. Okay, so here's what we're doing. Assessing hiring needs. So we're not actually taking over, making the city clerk summit. So we're doing some of the training, looking for preparations for the support. But we're not going to have voting locations where they can come to the government center. And I think Greenwood, I don't want to say what they're totally doing publicly because I'm not 100% sure if they shared with the public, but they're looking at how to make it more early voting, more reasonable within their community. So I think we're doing this as a first step. So we should, Amanda, why don't I'm going to add that? So I'm going to connect you with Dan. So Dan to connect on elections. But I think that we should continue the conversation. I'm not sure who asked that, Mayor. Was it you?
Yeah.
on this. I think we should continue the conversations because I think I know with my election, that was a nightmare, right? It was like the special election, then there was the primary. And so it was multiple things that had to be, and that's very costly. I mean, I think that I looked at it because I was like, how expensive is this? And it was nearly $300,000 that it took just for the election, the special election when Chris Latondras stepped down. So that was quite costly. Not a great time to do that.
And also the required hours. I know that that's been an issue
Yeah.
for her because I know in early voting that you require a few Saturdays, late
Yes.
hours.
Yes.
And so for a city of our size, our employees, we have one employee that does it. She has to come in on Saturdays and some nights work till 9 p.m. To adhere to those regulations.
And did
of-
she have much participation at those hours? No.
Well, so, and that's the thing, because I remember when I was in the legislature then, when Representative Greenman did that, and you would wonder that there would be some exceptions for small cities.
That's what we were, yeah, that's, I know.
We should connect on, I'll email you on that,
People
okay.
can make an appointment. That seems more reasonable.
It's not, doesn't qualify for.
No, I know, but
Yes.
if you were to kind of like,
Something.
okay, available for appointments.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that last bullet there, really exploring a larger county role in early voting administration. That's kind of what we're, talking about. I know it's been pitched, but, and maybe it requires legislative change, I'm not sure, but.
I don't know that it does, because, it's interesting, we should check. I'm going to check and circle back I'll just send you both an email and you guys can figure out who gets the information.
Sure.
Because I think I looked up with Greenwood, the mayor of Greenwood had said, I looked up the state law and I don't think that there's a prohibition from us actually saying it's Ridgedale is the early
Right.
voting location.
Right.
So I think I'm going to touch base with Dan though before I email you guys and see, because I looked because I was curious about that. And so you'll have times, Amanda, where people just are not, you have to staff it, but no one's coming in to vote.
Correct, yeah, and it's the staffing during regular business hours isn't necessarily as big of an issue as the Saturdays, nights, and even when the regular business hours are all expected to be all day, Monday through Friday, that makes it tough.
Okay. I will follow up with that as well.
No lunch, yes,
Oh,
exactly, no lunch.
During the regular business hours when nobody shows up to use the service, that's easier than nights and weekends when nobody shows up to use the service. There's this reasonableness that needs to be.
Yeah,
Sorry to hear.
agreed. And maybe like on the weekends if that is the case. Because I think towards the end, anyways, I'm going to
believe
not
it's
speak
the
about it because
last
I
2
have to have the
weeks.
law in front of me before I do that.
And then playground grants, any updates on those? That's still, I think it's an annual ritual, right? And I think we're intrigued about applying for that this year. Those haven't been cut or anything like that?
No, and one of the things that we're trying to do, because they are so successful, they're a great way for the community to see just like the CAM, when I found out about this, I'm like, my cities need to know about this because ultimately I didn't totally know about it. But I think playground grants are a great way for us, for residents to realize some of the things that Hennepin does too in ways that are impactful. Because I think, like to the point, Amanda, about your businesses, they're like, I don't feel like I'm getting it. What is disparity elimination? What's in it for me? And I agree with trying to figure out what we can do that people can actually see it. So we are doing that. We are going to continue it. And I'm not sure if we're supposed to try to increase it with this ballpark sales tax extension. I'm not sure if we were going to try to increase the amount that we're doing. I know Greenwood has a park that they're trying to get funds for. Is there something that you guys are looking for the playground grants? It opens application in August. I just looked. And then it looks like answer comes like September 30th.
There's a lot of our infrastructures that need to be replaced, but there's also some redesigning that we're working on.
Okay, so will you be ready to apply in August?
We could, yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's,
so August it opens. It didn't say the exact date, but just plan for August. And please do let me know when you apply. While I'm not absolutely able to determine, I will definitely, I'm trying to learn here, how you're in a job and you're like, I'm still feel new even though I'm 2 years. The organization's so big, but I'm figuring out how to I want to get as much playground grants as I can for our community. I'm figuring it out a little bit.
great, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, and as far as update, you asked about the gate. Again, we appreciate your advocacy on that, and I think we're just waiting for the spring thaw here. And then,
Yes, and I did get confirmation. I spoke to
Lisa.
Lisa with Hennepin County, and Hennepin County has committed to pay $5,000. I do believe a third of it would have been $7,000. 318, but Hennepin County has agreed to pay
Oh.
5,000.
Yes, I didn't know that.
Cost went
So
up a
what's the
bit.
Oh, the
total
cost went
bill
up, okay.
for it?
The total bill was $21,954.
Okay, we can see if we can do the 7. So, yeah, that's good to know. Can you send me just an email to say that it's
Yes.
gone up? Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that was, the final quote has been completed, and
Will you just email it to me?
Yes.
Just how the mechanism works. I have to know about it so I can
Yep,
use
I
the
will
authority
make
that
sure
I
to do that.
have. All right, perfect. So
Like
you'll
the
email that to me.
7,000 as
Any
well.
other things I should know about or you guys want to know about? And I can give you all my card too. Please always reach out to me throughout the year. I genuinely am trying to do as much as I can for our communities. It's a hard job because you're far away, you're downtown, and trying to know everything. So always please keep me updated.
Great, thank you. I got you on speed dial, so I got your number, but anybody else, let me know. I can pass that on to you. All right, well, thank you for taking time out of your day and evening to give us an update.
Of course, thank you.
Appreciate that,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Council. Good to see you all.
All right, good to see you. Have a good night. Okay, we'll move on to, we're tabling 7B, so we're going to move on to 7C. Invitation for City Council representation on the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District's Policy Advisory Committee.
yes, I will be discussing this with council tonight. So recently, the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District has met with Mayor Minor and discussed launching their 2027 Watershed Management Plan Update Initiative. During this meeting, Administrator James Whisker extended an invitation for members of the City Council to join on the MCWD's Policy Advisory Committee. So tonight we are asking any council members if they would be interested in representing the City of Long Lake in this advisory committee.
All right, and then it notes here, time commitment is scheduled during daytime business hours with approximately 5 or 6 meetings between now and December of next year, 2027. So that's not a lot, maybe three meetings, 2-3 meetings a year or something like that.
Seems like they might discuss phosphorus.
Right, runoff in the lake and water quality.
I'm
things
just
like that,
wondering,
yeah.
if that makes me think of you.
Were you looking down there at these guys that live close?
We're all looking at John.
I can give an
I think we
update.
might have conflicting priorities.
I can give an update on some of the information that I've seen the watershed already work on. And they are looking for 3 focus areas within Long Lake for this project, one of them being Holbrook Park. And that would be enhancing their walking paths a little bit in that area and some of the wooded area to get.
What about the runoff, like that drains into Long Lake?
Well, that would be to address some of that.
All of this is, what they're trying to do is try to get more holding ponds and water relocation so that it's sitting in streams longer. Sean would probably be able to be a better resource for a lot of this. There are 3 areas. They're going to be Holbrook Park. They're also looking at the downtown area because a lot of problems are coming from the industrial district right now. And so we're looking at ways to try to eliminate that. One of the ways we've talked about with them is there's a pond across the street that's kind of up in the air. MnDOT had donated it, not donated it. So there's a pond directly across the street that they might be looking at utilizing.
Which pond is that? Like,
You can't really see it. It's
Just a hole right here.
It's a hole by the
underneath
bridge. So we're gonna be better utilizing that.
And there's also another one across the freeway along the very eastern edge of the walking trail in Holbrook Park, where it runs out of that wooded section underneath the walking trail, and it goes to that pond there.
So that's one of their areas. Another area is going to be Nelson Lakeside Park. They're looking at different ways to move the streams a little bit to try to make better use of that. And then the third area, which I thought was pretty interesting, as part of this downtown area, we've talked a little bit about the BP lot and a possibility of maybe making that stormwater beneficial and maybe making some type of structure that would be more aesthetic and functional, and leaving it city property.
Subterranean, maybe?
Waterfall? Is that the same word?
No, underground.
Oh, I don't know. And they were taught, they had all these wonderful drawings and such. So anyone looking to join the watershed committee, it would be helpful. It would be helpful to myself and the watershed to help us determine what the council's goals are for these three specific areas as they start discussing ideas for the future.
Do we know if resident Janet Schaefer would be part of that as well? I think she's kind of a community representative to the watershed district. Would
She has not been at,
I've never seen her.
she hasn't been at any of the meetings that I've been at, but I wouldn't be opposed to inviting her to join in any
It says,
future meetings.
Well, you have to have some representative from
Correct.
the Long Lake Waters
Watershed.
Association, which is, she is a member of, right?
no?
And she would probably be a good one to have invited to that. if
it says, is Janet Schaefer's on this email.
Right,
Isn't
that's
she on the
correct
board?
too. Well, that's the thought. I thought she had a quasi-official role already.
And she might have. I
so
haven't seen her at my meeting.
That's why it would make sense, yeah, for her to be tied in as well. But maybe that's not the same as this advisory committee position here. I think ideally they were looking for somebody from our city council.
Well, it says, thank you for taking the time to meet with me and Janet, so I wonder too if she is,
On the board.
she is.
yeah, but hasn't gotten official email yet.
Yeah, I guess I haven't heard if they filled that position because she had applied to be on the board itself, and she had previously, or maybe currently is like a citizen representative. And I don't know if they've named that position yet as far as the board member, if they've appointed that. So,
From a staffing perspective, I've only been to one meeting with the watershed district, and it was pretty much just an drawing, coloring meeting, spitballing ideas. In the future, I think that it would be beneficial as staff. I'd be bringing Sean in some situations, I'd be bringing Jeanette in some situations as needed, when we start discussing things that are pertinent, and I would need their expertise in those areas. But I do think that a representative from the council would also be extremely helpful.
Should we have maybe, you know how we've done in the past? Because it doesn't seem like a lot of people are jumping at this. Maybe a primary and an alternate?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
an
I mean,
option.
if there isn't strong interest, I don't have, well, it sounds like it's not that big a commitment. Daytime hours is difficult for me, but I can try to make that work. If somebody else was also appointed as like you said, a backup, unless
I
Mike.
would do the alternate if you wanna just kinda split that cause I'm already I'm for the Long Lake water, so. it
Oh,
might
so it
be
works.
two and-
That would be very beneficial.
Tell you what, why don't you just put me on that one too? And I'll just do both of those since they're in conjunction with one another.
Okay,
And I think my schedule's probably a little more flexible than yours.
And then John's the
And then I
alternate.
could be the alternate then.
We'll
if
do
you-
that. Let's do that.
Unless you wanted.
Nope,
Okay.
I'm getting run over.
I'll take that one on, and if, as John, the alternate for days that I just can't make it, that would be fine.
So you want,
Email me anything I need, or.
so primary, backup?
Yeah,
All right.
but then copy me on anything that's happening or minutes or whatever that come out of that, or maybe you would do that.
I can do that, yes.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened yet. This was,
Keep it that way.
I think we're still,
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's-
I think they're still working
How
together.
much money do they have for all of this?
That hasn't come up yet.
I haven't
Okay.
seen a number.
All right, so.
Wanna make a
you guys
motion?
good? I'll make a motion to appoint Todd Newcomer as the primary and John Dyvik as the backup to the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District's Policy Advisory Committee for 2026.
I'll second that. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Great. Thank you, gentlemen, for stepping forward for that. Appreciate it. Okay, so we are done with regular business, so we move on to item 8, other business. Going around here, Councilmember Newcomer.
No, yeah, no.
You're good? All right. Councilmember Feldman.
Good, thank you.
Councilmember Dybek.
Well, just on that related topic, I know, Todd, you're the Long Lake Waters liaison, but I was in on this meeting that they had with Lake Restoration. Were you in, I don't know if you were here our last meeting or not, when I just gave just a quick summary of that, and we met with this company called Lake Restoration that does alum treatments for impaired waters, and he has sort of started a plan, or sort of laid out a plan that he would recommend for doing that. And that, that's not on the Waterside District's plan, at least in the near term. Their position is, you fix the long-term problem and of stuff going into the lake, and then you fix the lake. But there are those others that believe that one isn't necessarily exclusive of the other, and you can do things in parallel. And yes, fix the long-term problems, but if we can do something that improves the water quality and takes it off the impaired waters list, like they've demonstrated they've done with other lakes, that's something that ought to be considered. Now, there's a cost for it, and it's not cheap, but it was less than I thought it was going to be, and so there's going to be some investigation by some from the Long Lake Waters Association, some myself perhaps, to see what kinds of grants would be available to help with that. What city participation between Orono and Long Lake and even Medina might be, and then what kind of fundraising you could do. So even though I'm not the official Long Lake Waters Association liaison, they pulled me into that. So, but I can send to you what that presentation was, and then I think Amanda or Jeanette has reached out to them about coming here and presenting, somebody from the Waters Association coming here and presenting that to our council at some point.
Correct.
I said that because I think they don't want to go down that road if the cities are not interested, and again, we probably wouldn't have a whole lot we could contribute to it, but I hope that we would step up and do something if that was something that everybody agreed to, and that Orono would do the same, and that maybe even Medina. So anyway, that's.
Who's the governing body that would give the final blessing for that? Is that a Hennepin County, or is that a Minnehaha watershed?
No, it's neither. It's law if.
Does a permit have to be issued by the DNR or something?
Yeah, I think there's a permit that needs to
How
be
about the
issued.
MPCA? Anytime you put alum into a body of water, they're wanting to know about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not, from the way Lake Restoration presented it, that's not going to be a major hurdle or anything. I mean, it's going to take the lake off the impaired waters list, which everybody wants to see. And there was actually questions about that. Does alum, is that considered a pollutant, or is it dangerous
What I'm
to?
envisioning in my head is if another lakeside
Gonna
owner
change
hears
the
about this
pH
and
of the
goes,
water.
hell no, I don't want that at all.
Why? Yeah. Well, then I
Who
would
would
say
they
why.
speak to argue with that point?
Yeah, I don't know. That's.
Certain of that. That would be a big one.
Yeah, because I would
Well-
think there's a governing body before you add a chemical to the water.
It's not. It's not a chemical. It's aluminum sulfate. It's just a well, it is a chemical in the sense that everything's a chemical, but it's not a hazardous material. It's just a compound that combines with the phosphorus and then contains it and then just drops to the bottom of the lake, and it just stays there. And it's certainly not more toxic than the phosphorus itself. So, but that I guess that's a valid question. I don't know that I've ever heard that anybody would say they wouldn't want to do an alum treatment. If it's generally the issue is the cost, and finding the money to do it. But, yeah, I'm sure there's a permit involved, but I've never heard of a permit being denied by a governing body. You know, maybe if there's a large group that was not interested in doing it, I'm not sure why they would be against it, but alum treatment was done here in the 90s. Yeah, and actually prior to that in the 70s, I think. And if it's done right, you know, it can last 10 to 20 years, and it's like an almost instant improvement of water clarity. Now, the problem then you get is if you got clear water, then you get a lot of weeds, and so people might complain about, oh, you got all these weeds suddenly. Well, that's the price you pay. Either you got murky water or you got weeds, and so, you know, which is better. Well, and those are questions that we could ask if they come and present to us. So, yeah, maybe it does require the watershed district permit or something, or DNR or the MPCA, I'm not sure, but,
I would make certain of that before you commit to anything, really.
yeah. Well, I mean, the Lake Shore Restoration is doing this currently as we speak with a number of lakes, and other alum treatments have been done, and
Just about every wastewater plant in the state uses alum as it discharges out of the wastewater plant to remediate the phosphorus out of that. And that's all covered under the MPCA permit.
yeah.
And they also use another chemical which is about 10 times stronger as ferric chloride.
Well, I don't know how that works, and
Same principle.
well, okay, I haven't heard that. But, you know, the interesting thing that I learned about this, at least how he's laid it out for Long Lake, is that you only put this in the deepest parts. You don't, so people thought you cover the whole 270 acres. And he says, no, you don't. You do the parts that are deeper than, it was either 20 feet or 15 feet, because it's those deep parts where the phosphorus comes out of the sediment. The shallower parts, it's not nearly as severe. So he kind of laid out, it was about 90 acres that you would actually put the alum treatment in, and you do it two applications over 2 years, and to get the most effective locking up of the phosphorus. And you know, they said that's what they've done on other lakes, and it's taken them off the impaired waters list and improved their water quality drastically. And so, anyway, they're the experts, not me. But but as I understand it, it's not considered a toxic material or harmful to fish or to people or anything like that.
All right.
That's all I had.
Anything else? Okay.
I'll send you the presentation.
Just for me, a quick update going next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, going to the League of Minnesota Cities City Day on the Hill. They all done the last year or two kind of for city officials to go to and learn more about what's happening at the Capitol and bills in the legislature and things like that. So I'll report back anything I get out of that.
Have fun.
Yeah, like fun, isn't it? But no, besides that, nothing big else to report on my end.
So Tuesday, March 10th, there's a planning commission meeting?
I believe Jeanette's gonna be working on trying to get that packet out tomorrow.
So anything,
Is it to a point?
It might be to a point. I can't think of any other project that's
okay,
in the works.
nothing for me.
All right. City Administrator.
I don't have anything significant. I was gonna let Councilmember Dybek know that I am reading an email from Jane Davidson where she was invited, and she asked to be able to present at a later date after she has her board meeting and some of the details are figured out. So that is already in the works as far as getting organized. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
So she'll present to us, to the council?
Correct, yep, she would just like to get some of the details established, so it will probably be in a few months, maybe a month or so.
Okay. Great.
And I'll just add to that, so the sudden strong interest in the alum treatment is because of the blue algae that we had, and that's certainly extremely toxic and harmful to certainly dogs and people too. And so, they want us to try to eliminate that from happening every year, so.
And I do know that, and you and I talked about this, I know Medina is also working on, they had set quite a bit of money aside this year to do a treatment, I believe, and
Oh, yeah, Holy Name, or,
I can't recall now that,
yeah, one of their lakes.
one of their lakes, they had set
Wolfsfeld, maybe.
aside,
Roosevelt Lake, is that?
Yeah.
they
could be
had set
Wolfsfeld.
aside quite a bit of money, because they also had the same problems, and so Medina is working on a similar project this year.
Yeah.
And I understand we have lots of applicants for this administrative position. Good to hear.
Yes, we have been pleasantly surprised by the amount of qualified applicants for the assistant position. I think it will be a very hard decision on our part, but I'm looking forward to getting someone hired and getting them trained.
Nice,
And just to
nice.
clarify, it is not, I do believe in the paper it was marked as an administrator's assistant. It is not, I don't get an
Like your
assistant.
personal assistant, right?
It
Right.
is a administration assistant, office assistant, so
Okay,
just to clarify that, I do know there was a misprint in the paper.
okay. Janet's done a really good job of advertising that
Yes.
position as well as our Public Works position as well. You heard maybe not as many applicants flowing in for that yet, so.
We have not, I wasn't gonna mention that, we have not yet. We're still hopeful that the right candidate will apply, so.
Okay, great.
How many people are we down at Public Works?
One.
One.
All right, speaking of Public Works, Sean, anything else to cue us in on? Is it going well? You put,
Been busy, 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 trying to keep the ship afloat.
yeah, appreciate that. Got the snow plows taken off for the summer, or are you gonna wait on that?
Not yet, I got, some repairs to a couple of them that we need to work on. Our beloved Toolcat, the main wiring harness cooked out of it. Gonna be about 12 grand to get that fixed.
You're getting a
Really?
new, well, not a new, but a
12 grand.
Silverado.
What's that?
Are you getting a Silverado, I see?
Yep, we just bought a very mint condition 2017 Silverado. If it wasn't such good shape, I'd have walked right by it. But it made me do a double take and go back, oh, we better look at this one a little closer.
So do you have to get that wrapped, or do you do any wrapping?
We are not doing, sorry, we're not doing wrapping. We ordered magnets. I don't, it's much more economical. And so, yes, we
And then we're gonna
ordered,
put a beacon light on it, just like the rest of them, and
Okay.
just minor things.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess I was surprised that we bought a used vehicle. Maybe we didn't vocalize this, but we set money aside for this year. I was thinking, well, maybe, 30,000 this year, 30,000 next year equals 60,000, go out buy a new truck. But if you wanted to buy used, then I guess that was your.
Very happy with it. We got an extended warranty with it. The trucks that we bought in 2018, when I first started, they've only got 30,000 miles on them, almost 10 years later. So if it goes beyond that, or up to that, we were covered, so no surprises there. And we were under budget by about 3 grand, 4 grand after all that was said and done, and that was a good
saw
plus.
that.
I'm sure that'll be going somewhere else.
Right?
And then, I don't know if anybody's noticed, I've been leaning more towards using less sand and more salt for ice control this year. And, just for the fact that I don't have time to go around 14 times and resand everything, I'm trying to let, chemical reactions and sunlight do a little bit more of the work, so, within 2 or 3 days, the streets have become pretty much black again, so, we purchased 60 tons of salt in February, actually allocated it back last summer, and, we had it delivered in February, and I think we still got about half left, so it's not really that much additional funding required, so I think we're gonna keep leaning away from the sand more.
So, sorry, more salt, less sand, or
Correct.
more? Okay.
That's more of a less labor. You can pay for it either way.
So I think with the runoff, It's only side effect
We're
is the
still
runoff.
so
but-
minuscule in the equation in the metro that, for instance, I think Orno uses 1,200 tons. We're using about 60.
Okay.
Hey, one question that came up on a previous council meeting is when you do the street sweeping, where do you dump that?
It's at the shop.
So does that eventually just kind of get back into the system?
We actually had a local horse farmer that would take it and use it as his stall fluffing or whatever he wants to call it, but he's since died, so we're using it for clean fill and taking it to authorized places up on Highway 55.
Hmm.
KD is one of them. They take just about anything, so.
Okay.
And I think we got the Plymouth sites all ready to go for 2026 for compost, and I'll probably be hauling another 100 trees there again this year, so.
I forget, we're gonna be using that subcontractor again this year?
We will be.
Okay.
There's a few that we've identified in certain spots that are a little bit more than we can choose, so we're gonna bring them back in and take them down for us. Charlie's Auto Body is one of them. I see they tried to start on one, and I don't know if they're waiting for us to finish that or what. I need to reach out to him. But it's not been the best
Okay, sub,
time to be cutting trees down anyway, so.
I think there's photos of this on Facebook that I happened to see for cutting it down one day, or trying to, but I forget what the outcome was.
I haven't heard a word, so I just look at it as I drive by.
Okay,
But other than that, just plain winter operations. Dean has been graciously coming in and helping us plow, and his saying was when he used to work here, it was pennies from heaven. Well, now it's inflation, now it's quarters from heaven. So,
good.
he's been in 3 or 4 times to help us out and the bigger ones, and it's been significantly appreciated, because it was just like him jumping back in and didn't skip a beat.
I think he
That's
kind of
great.
stalled, the big rig stalled out right in front of my driveway.
Hmm.
To get out.
Yeah, and he slid down the hill on Green Hill and smucked the pork chop at the bottom, the last snowfall.
Uh-oh.
About 45 minutes into plowing, so I had to stop and spend an hour and a half putting that back together with a welder and a torch and everything else, so.
Jeez.
It was quite the chaos that morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning, so.
So he still comes in?
He was my source for Grand. This afternoon, I was talking to him on the phone on the way back from St. Cloud, and he lived on Grand Avenue since he was a little boy, and then he worked for 45 years, and he says, I can't ever remember that being repaved. And it was paved when he was a little boy, so
I believe it, yeah.
I bet it's over 70 years.
Right, right. That's crazy. All right, last call. So next meeting is Tuesday, March 17th, also on St. Patrick's Day. Is that isn't that like an official holiday or something? Do we reschedule that or not? So maybe a work session, we'll see before that, but maybe not. All right. So if there's no objection, I'll adjourn the meeting by general consent. Hearing none, meeting's adjourned at 8 p.m.
Got some videos of last summer, the water clarity. It was, when I looked at the Minnesota page, it was like the clearest
We'll see.
water it could ever been.
Charlie, did you?